Hey book besties, welcome back to my channel, and today is a very exciting video that I have been wanting to do for a little while. It is June 2024 now, and halfway through the year, and I haven't read as many books as I want to, but I feel like this has been a very good reading year so far. I have 8 books here. There are 4 well-known, for sure, I'm sure you can already see it right here, but there's 4 well-known books in this stack and 4 that you probably have never heard of. We'll see at the end of the year if these stay true or if I have some new ones. So let's get into it. The first one I want to talk about is a very loved book. Some people hate it, but I was wrapped into it within first 5 chapters. It doesn't take a lot for me to love a book. I can fall in love with a book pretty easily, but it does take a lot for me to see the book in my mind like a movie. And with this book, it did it. I'm sure you saw this coming, but I fell into the hype. I fell in love with this book in the first 5 chapters. It took me probably about a year to actually pick it up. As you can see, I have the first edition that came out a while ago. But when I did finally pick this up, I read this so quickly that it was just like a non-stop movie in my head. So I got about 5 chapters in. I loved it. I put it down for a little while because I was very busy with a lot of things. But when I picked it back up, I read the last 200 pages in a morning, basically. Oh man, I'm very scared to get into the second book though, because I hear a lot goes down. I'm kind of waiting till Onyx Storm comes out, or like a closer release date to when it comes out. Then I'll probably read Iron Flame, maybe. I don't know, I'm scared because I love their relationship so far, and I'm scared to see what comes with it. And Iron Flame, no spoiler, the ending is, oh my gosh, first of all, I did not see it coming. It took me like a whirlwind. I did not see it coming. I'm very interested to see how Rebecca brings the characters back together. And I don't want to say too much. I'm sure most of y'all have read this, but if you haven't and you're afraid of the hype, me personally, I'm with the hype. And the romance that she added into it, it wasn't overboard, it was believable, it was perfect. So 5-star read. I read this the end of April. Like, I think I finished it the first day of May, so not too long ago. Still fresh in my mind. Probably will be for a while. Now this one. I was very scared going into it because just like Fourth Wing, there was a lot of hype about it. I had very high expectations for this book, and believe me when I say I didn't want to love it because I didn't want to fall into the hype of it, but I did. I fell into it, and there's one thing that I do have to critique about this is I saw it in another video from somebody, and she said she could not finish the book because she didn't understand why the trials were happening. That it was to celebrate the plague and stuff, but why put people into a battle to kill themselves? Like, I didn't really understand that, but I'm holding out hope that they will explain it in the next one. Lauren, I will be very happy if you explain why. It reminded me a lot of The Hunger Games, but in a more fantasy, magical way, which I did like that. I wasn't the biggest fan of The Hunger Games. I'll say it now. If I see a movie of this going on in my head, I relate to it. I can connect with it. Writing is so easy to understand, but you can fall into it so easily as well. The banter, I mean, you've seen this everywhere. The tension that they have, that Kai and Peyton have, it's perfection. So another read that if you have not picked this up, pick it up. Read it, especially with Reckless right around the corner. I think it's a month from now, so definite. We'll see if it sticks in my top 10 when the year ends. I just finished this a week ago. When I saw the name, I knew I had to get it. So, Heartless Hunter. Oh my gosh, better known as the Crimson Moth. So, kind of mad we didn't get the cover of the Crimson Moth, but it's still pretty. I still like it. Another YA, which I'm surprised that I know I love YA, but I'm surprised that the YA is getting into my top reads, because usually I like the more spice, but let me tell you, the spice in this was good. It was not over descriptive, not over unrealistic. It was very, very well written for YA and for not going overboard. It was perfectly portrayed for a YA book, and unlike Powerless didn't have any spice. Like, there was tension, there was slow burn. I don't even think there was a kiss. So I would not put that in the spicy category. Like, at all. Like, not even closed door spice. Nothing. This, on the other hand, had in between a closed door and fully descriptive. Like, it kept it toned down enough that it wasn't like I said, unrealistic kind of spice. The mind of both of them was just non-stop, back and forth. Is she the Crimson Moth? There's no way. Yes, she is. Definitely not. I know for a fact she is, and there's no possible way she can. So it was just back and forth. And with Rune on whether he knows and where he's keeping Seraphina, it's just a lot of back and forth. And I get the back and forth, especially with what it's at stake, because he knows what witches can do, but Gideon doesn't understand that she doesn't want power and, like, doesn't want what Cressida, I think that's her name, she doesn't want to be that kind of witch, and I wish he knew that. But I hear there's another one coming out, so I'm excited for that. I have read all of ACOTAR. I've read the first Crescent City. I have yet to touch Throne of Glass until April. Until a couple months ago. Although, I started with Assassin's Blade because I would rather read in order of place, taking place, not order of, I guess, written. I don't know. And I chose Assassin's Blade because I wanted to understand how she got to be Aelin instead of Selena. I wanted to know what she was before all that. So, I read in order of placement, of time. I don't know what Throne of Glass is going to be like. I have plans for Throne of Glass at another time, so come back for that. Assassin's Blade was perfection in the way of explaining who Selena was, what she was before the rest of everything. She was this badass assassin that just took no crap from anybody. She was high and mighty. She did not let anybody step on her. We'll see how she is in Aelin. I know she's very confident in herself and who she is, and I'm very excited to see what she gets into when she turns into Aelin. And might I say, Sam, I was devastated. I can't get over the time between they last saw and then she saw him. I can't. Just unspoken words, just, it really gets to me. I read half this, like, I think I had gotten through about half of it. I think I'd gotten through the first part. And when I got to the underworld part, I read the rest of this in one night. I read this so quickly, I could not put it down. And when I can't put a book down, you know I'm in love with it, because, again, the movie just will not stop in my head. And when I picked this up, it was a movie nonstop in my head. I couldn't put it down. So, now, the next two are from the same author, and I'm putting them together because they're very similar in what they make you feel like. And I just want to put them both out there at the same time because I want to compare the two. I read Still Beating first, and then the next day I read Lotus. Still Beating is a very heart-wrenching, sad, traumatic book that you will not stop thinking about in a month. I think I read this about 3 weeks ago, something like that, and it's still fresh in my mind. You need to read the trigger warnings. You need to be cautious. But just the character development, the connection they have, what they came from, what they went through is just beyond. I worry about Jennifer. I want to know how she portrayed this kind of thing so easily. I can't get over how real it felt. It was like she went through it herself because it was so perfectly written. Moving on to Lotus. Lotus was not as traumatic. It's very sad, and there was a lot that goes behind why it happened and the way that she thought up the characters, their backstory, what happened to them. Even the name is just beyond. Couldn't get enough of this and this one. I'm putting them together because they're by the same author. They're very similar, but they're very different in their own way, and I just could not put them down. Oh my gosh, I think I cried through halfway of this book. This book, I cried like the whole thing. The whole damn thing. It was just so sad. And the funny thing about these is that I went to Barnes & Noble's wanting to pick up Flawless, Heartless, Powerless, that series, but they didn't have Flawless. So I was like, what the crap? I can't not get the first one. So I asked the lady working there, what other recommendations do you have? She's like, oh, I got a good one. She took me to this aisle. It was in like the cutesy area, like not super near the dark romance. Anyway, she pointed these out, and she also pointed out June 1st. And I saw these because they were like the blue and the pink, and they looked really pretty, and I was like, oh, these are gonna be so cute. Little did I know, I picked the two darkest, saddest ones. But I'm so thankful she did give them to me because they are definitely one of my favorite reads in the darker romance. She wrote it so well that it has a beautiful underlining and a beautiful ending. They are a happy ending, so keep in mind of that. Still Beating, Lotus, Jennifer Hartman. Read it. Okay. Number 7. I do not have the physical copy of this book. It was the very first book I read of the year, and it released like January 6th, but I'm cheating a little bit because I read this, it was towards the end of December of last year, but I'm counting this as a 2024 because I think I finished it on New Year's Eve, I think, and it also didn't get released till the 6th. I read the arc before it was released, but I'm still counting it. It's 2024. This book needs to be out there a lot more than it is because anything that involves Greek mythology, if you're doing a retelling or just based on Greek mythology but written in your own way, I will get it. I will love it because I see the beauty in Greek mythology that is so endless and crazy. But moving on to the actual book. She is an indie author. It's her second book written. I'm going to show the first book of the series, but it's a 2-book series so far, as I know of. So, Daughter of the Underworld is the first book of the series. Daughter of War and Witchcraft is the second, and the second one follows Pollux Melano. Yeah, I think I'm saying that right. I think I am. Melano is the daughter of Persephone and Hades, and sorta. I'm not gonna say much. If you know Greek mythology, you'll know the background story of it. Just for being her second book as an indie author, it was captivating. I fell into the story and of the characters. Everything tied together so well. The story, the plot, the background. She put a lot of thought into this book, and if you don't pick this up, I'm gonna be very mad at you. If you don't like Greek mythology, give it a chance. The characters that are brought in, all the magic, like the witchcraft, everything that made her be who she is written so perfectly. A way of finding herself, finding her magic, finding love. So it is a romance, so there is definitely some spice. Let me tell you, most Greek mythology has spice, except Percy Jackson. This has spice. It has a lot of spice, and the second one has a lot of it too. You're gonna love it. I'm telling you, read it now. Read it. Read it. Last but not least, I bought this because fae, magic, mortals. It is very similar to ACOTAR. I will tell you that now. But there's so many differences as well. I feel like a lot of things that have fae are kind of like ACOTAR because there's such a base that you have to stick with, like what kind of magic they have, what kind of power, where they came from, like what they look like. So put that aside, take in every other aspect in this book, and it is very different than ACOTAR. And I love it because it puts a different sort of magic and world and creatures into the book that makes sense and give it a lot of life. She just came out with the second one, which I have, but I have not read. So I hear there is betrayal in the second one. We'll just forget I said that. I'm very curious of how and who and why, because Nox seems so... I feel like I can trust him. But then again, I don't know, because he's a fae, and I don't know his real intentions, and I'm torn with where Delilah came from, and what she really is, and how, and I need to know more, but I'm scared to get into it. I'm feeling heartbroken. The way that she comes into the magic is great, though the training, I like that she's not already going into magic. She actually has to learn and train and understand it first. I like the creatures that are in it. I love Aurora as I forgot what she was, but I just know that's her name. The last third of the book I read in one sitting. I didn't get up, I didn't move, I didn't alter my position at all. I just read and read and saw in my mind and read, and it ended in a way that I did not expect. There was so much at stake in the end, and the way that just gave it a sort of feeling like it was going to be the end, but then the next chapter was like, nope, it ain't over. There's still more. I'm definitely gonna have to read the second one soon. And I just heard she's doing a third one. So, this is gonna be at least a trilogy. And I'm excited for more. And if you haven't picked it up, read it, if you haven't even heard of it, look it up. So, that's all my 8 5-star reads of 2024. Midway through 2024. It's June, and I have read, I think, 26 books, plus like 10 audiobooks. I hope you enjoyed this little rambling of me with my books. I plan on doing a lot more individual reviews of said books to kind of dive into the story, what it's about, giving you like my first impressions, going through like chapter to chapter, breaking it down. May have some spoilers, so if I were to do spoilers, I will put timestamps, but I plan on breaking some of these down into their own videos at some point. Some of my other reads. Right now I'm working on my June TBR. I hope you enjoyed my rambling, and I hope you come back. I hope you like this. I hope you subscribe, because I will be appreciative of anything. So, I will see y'all next time.